Welcome to the Cyber Tech Podcast, inside the minds of everyday IT and cyber pros. Your host, Mike Fierros, will dive deep into the world of IT and cybersecurity, bringing you the stories and insights of professionals who are making waves in the field. From how they got started, to their most exciting projects, and their advice for aspiring tech enthusiasts, we cover it all. So, whether you're an industry veteran or just getting started, join us as we explore the fascinating minds behind the technology that shapes our world. Let's get started.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Mike Fierros. You're listening to the Cyber Tech Podcast, inside the minds of everyday IT and cyber pros, powered by Aspirebyte. Before we dive into today's episode, which is episode number 22, be sure to subscribe to the Aspirebyte YouTube channel, where we share full podcast episodes, clips, tech-focused content. And while you're there, like and share videos to help spread the word. You can also listen to every episode of the Cyber Tech Podcast on Spotify. If you've been enjoying the show, give us a 5-star rating, drop a quick comment or a shout out, share it with others. It helps reach more people and get the mission going. Thank you for everyone who's already done that. Quick update. This past week, as of this recording, thrilled to announce I became a NICE Cybersecurity Career Ambassador. The NICE program is part of NIST under the U.S. Department of Commerce, focused on building strong cybersecurity workforce. And I'm honored to be a part of that. And really that lines up with Aspirebyte platform already, pushing cybersecurity technology careers in general, but specifically for cybersecurity to get the workforce and get students interested and young folks interested and whatnot. So definitely love doing that. I recently got some fantastic gear from the Aspirebyte merch shop, and I can confidently say that the polo I'm wearing is super comfortable and top quality. If you want to support the Aspirebyte platform, definitely check out the merch shop and join us in our mission. Let's go right into episode number 22. And this gentleman right here, I've been talking back and forth on LinkedIn, has tons and tons of experience. Loves helping people any way he can to get into cybersecurity. This gentleman right here, his name is Scotty Ward. He is the Western Regional Leader for the NICE Cybersecurity Career Ambassadors Program, also the founder of Cybersecurity Sensei. And how's it going, Scotty?
Excellent. Doing well. Thank you, Mike. Great to be here.
By the way, thanks for being the Western leader, if you will, for the NICE Cybersecurity Career Program. But I really appreciate you coming on, Scotty.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here, Mike.
And Scotty, for those that don't know who you are, kind of introduce yourself and how you got into cybersecurity.
I am Scotty Ward. I was in the U.S. Air Force way back about 100 years ago, and was in a career field that did not translate easily into civilian work. I was a seismic analyst with the U.S. Air Force. I measured earth tremors and those sorts of things. And that doesn't really get you much of a job when you get out. When I got out of the military, I fell back on my secondary skill, which was computers, because we were scientific in what we did. We were using computers throughout. The first computer that I used was an IBM 360 in 1978. So, the room-sized computers were how I got started. It was that got me into computers. And then I got my first IT job, real IT job, in 1990, working at the Small Computer Tech Center at Dyess Air Force Base in Abilene, Texas. And it's been up from there. So that's how I got started. I took the IT operations route rather than going straight for security, but that allowed me to be smart on systems, on networks, on interconnectivity, on software patching, etc. All sorts of things that the cybersecurity career field absolutely depends on come from the ops side. So it's not like you can do one and ignore the other. They both work together. And it's just that most of my titles have been ops titles while I've done cybersecurity as well.
For those folks that don't understand what kind of IBM computer that is, you're talking about a room. When you started in Air Force, Scotty, you're talking about a room you go in and, you go in a computer lab now, it could be a bunch of laptops, a bunch of iMacs or Dell computers and what have you. But in those days, you would walk into a room and it's literally a huge room, and you have bulky computers. You have punch cards.
It was ice cold. Everybody walked around in lab coats so you didn't freeze. Yeah,
and it's such a when you look back historically on that, Scott, and you've seen it all. we have our computers in the palm of our hands, laptops. It's just incredible how technology changed. But I think you going into operations first, you kind of touch everything. I think, Scotty, you touch
Hmm.
how to talk to, might be a board, or your directors, I mean, you touch every aspect when you work in the IT operations and stuff like that. So you have to talk to everybody, and I think that gives you a good sense of what's going on, not just having just cybersecurity, but overall what's going on in the information technology world and whatnot. You didn't enter until the age of 32. What were you doing before, and how did you make that career shift after you got out of
Um,
the Air Force?
Honestly, I sort of lost my way when I got out of the military. I threw newspapers, worked in a restaurant, those sorts of
Mm,
things. I didn't really have a direction, but I did remember that I loved tech. And
mm,
so while I was doing this, wandering around, I was also a computer users group president. And
nice.
that was the computer experience that allowed my government to hire me back into the federal workforce as a computer specialist at,
Mm,
again, at Dyess Air Force Base in Texas.
nice.
Honestly, my computer was an Amiga, if that gives you an idea, you
Yeah.
know?
Even for me, it's such encouraging to hear you say that, because like I pivoted about the same age you did, Scotty, and from law enforcement, and I was like, can I even do this? I mean, I was asking a bunch of questions to myself, but I really wanted to do it. And from one of the guys from the old IT Pro TV days, Ronald Wong, he pivoted about the same age too. It's such encouraging to hear that you can actually make a pivot. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And whatnot, and be tremendously successful.
Just
You find that
one
in life.
thing in
Yeah,
reference to
for sure,
IT operations and security.
for
We
sure.
all know this, but there is a constant tug of war between those that want things quickly and efficiently
Yeah.
and those that want to make sure that those things are also provided safely. I can remember when I was at the U.S.
Mm,
Department of Labor. I was the Enterprise Service Desk Program Manager, and I walked into the person who her position would eventually be the CIO, but they were
mm,
still so small she didn't become a CIO yet. But I walked into her office and I said, is your name? And she said, yes. And I said, okay, I'm Scotty Ward from the service desk, and I just want to let you know you win. And she gave me this quizzical look. And she said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I know that there's always going to be this friction between the two of us, and I want to
mm,
let you know I'm going to come down on your side every time. We've got to do things securely or we shouldn't be doing them at all." And that cemented my relationship with the
mm,
security side of the house while I worked in IT operations, and allowed me to do things like increase the role of the service desk in security so that the
mm,
service desk people would actually get security credit and experience for their resumes. They were tested, they were certified every year, just as if they
mm,
were cybersecurity specialists, but they were help desk. But I pointed out to the security
mm,
team, these folks, when something goes wrong and you tell somebody to go pick up somebody's computer, who are you going to call? Okay, then they're doing incident response activity, right? And they were like, oh, yeah. So,
mhm.
so I made it to where the entire service desk, there were 115 of us, obtained role based um, training for
Mm.
being in incident response.
That's really cool, and I think that's a good way of introduce a security minded culture in your IT team. It's not an easy thing to do, but if you get the IT team to buy into that, I think that's a good way to introduce security minded culture to a company
Mhm.
like that, for sure.
Everyone is responsible for security. And also, being the program manager, I reminded everybody that they're responsible to identify things like risk. It's
Mm,
not all top down. You could be staring at an unlocked door and say, something's not right here.
mm.
So everyone participates. Take that responsibility in everything you do, and the whole team will be successful.
Your first federal IT role was technically classified as secretary, quote unquote. How did that role
Yeah.
open the door into your IT career?
Yeah, that was very interesting. I worked at CompUSA at that
Oh,
time,
nice.
and I was, answering the phone for CompUSA. I wasn't out on the floor selling. I was doing. It's called pricing and availability. Hey, do you guys have these? Yes, we do. We've got four of them. Come on down. That sort of thing. And um, I pivoted into civil service, back into civil service, but the only position they had was working at Bolling Air Force Base for the Security Police Squadron as their land administrator. But
Nice.
they hadn't gotten into IT like we think of IT. So the position was classified as a secretary. I
Huh.
literally, it said I was a secretary while I was doing land administration. Right after that, I was able to pivot across to the Pentagon into a position that was an absolute career changer, where
Mm.
I went up 7 grades in the course of 3 years, which is
Wow.
almost impossible in civil service.
Mhm.
But I did that. And I think it all starts with be productive where you're at. A secretary? Yeah, sure. But it was a land administration. I got experience. I don't care what it's called. It allowed me to exercise my skills
Mm.
on behalf of the organization.
It's just a good reminder. You mentioned, Sky, be productive where you're at,
Right.
and I think that's a good reminder for us working in the field, even for those that the students and folks that want to pivot or get into the career, is that when you get in there, I guess any industry, right? You don't want to go day by day, like kind of like very passive and not caring. You want to take every day. You don't want to take every day for granted working in technology and whatnot. And so,
Hmm.
being productive where you're at is trying to asking the IT director, hey, you guys need help with anything? I don't have any tickets in help desk. Maybe network engineering team needs help pulling the Ethernet cables across the ceiling, or maybe the cybersecurity team needs help,
Yep.
documentation wise or something, just to let them know that you want to be there and you want to be, you want to build your skill sets and be part of that team, and they'll definitely see that for sure.
I watched over and
Mm,
over again people from within my team get hired up to higher teams.
mm,
Um, I I don't consider it to be an insult to start as a help desk person. To
for
me,
sure.
that was a obvious path to
Mhm,
better things. So no, and the other thing that I think a lot of people may take for granted is they're waiting for a particular title. They're waiting for a pay level that they think is commensurate with somebody who can now state in public, I am an IT security professional or a cybersecurity professional.
mhm,
And that's just not the case these days. There are many, many positions that don't have that magic title, and yet you're doing the work. So for me, my recommendation to people around me is if you're interested in the career field, even if you're just getting started, you've joined my mentorship team or you've
mm,
started to do our incident response team work or something like that, just getting started. Call yourself a cybersecurity professional and then work into what that becomes later on. I know
mm,
of so many people that they're like, well, I'm a baker. Okay, but you've been in our mentorship program for over a year. You are a cybersecurity professional. You're still working on turning that into something that will allow you to leave your baker job,
mhm,
but you are consider yourself that and then grow into that. Be careful about waiting for that thing that may never appear the way you think it's supposed to. People
mm.
around you consider you to be an expert. Live in that.
I think that's a really good point, Scotty. Is that it's one thing you want to get into IT and or cybersecurity, whatever it may be in tech, and maybe you want to be a network engineer, and like it reminds you, like you're mentioning, start now. Basically, you have that mindset, consume yourself with this world, because this tech world, whether it's IT, information security, cybersecurity, network engineering, whatever you want to do in tech. I like you mentioned that live it now. Listen to
Mhm.
podcasts like this one.
Yep.
Get into Cybersecurity Sensei with Scotty here. Listen to Professor Messer. Listen to Network Chuck, whoever it is out there. Consume that information. Listen to podcasts. Get connected with people on LinkedIn or social media, wherever it's at, and network with them, ask some questions, ask Scotty questions, ask me questions, whoever it is, just immerse yourself. I think you hit on the dot. Like I had a conversation. You remind me, I had a conversation a couple of days ago. Now, the time of this recording, and I was just reminiscing to a friend of mine's IT director, and he's the one that got me into IT originally. And he gave me confidence. Pivoting that at 32, 33 myself. He's like very nonchalantly and confidently. He's like, just jump in,
Just do
just
it.
get in there. And I was still working law enforcement, and I was like, very nonchalantly, "Oh, okay, I'll do it." And then from there, I just, you just do it. And just like Scotty, I never stop after that.
Right.
But I think that's a really good reminder, even for us in the field, to don't become stagnant and just keep pushing on, keep learning, keep helping
Mhm.
folks and whatnot. What is it like being in the Pentagon? I know you mentioned you work there, but I know you were there specifically on 9/11, working in cybersecurity, information security at that time. I was and still in school myself, going to college, but I remember that day. But working in cybersecurity, information security in the Pentagon, I mean, that's awesome too in itself, because you're seeing things that some folks don't get to see and whatnot. But that particular day, in the context of like cybersecurity, with your role that you're doing, how was it
Mhm.
working there?
It was the longest day of my life, honestly.
Mm.
Uh, you know, I can remember I was the senior person in our office, 27 people, and I to this day I remember I said, "We've been hit. Everybody grab your car keys. We're leaving." As we filed out and headed toward the parking lot, we could smell the jet fuel in the hallways. We
Mm.
did not re-enter that room again. That room was demolished and rebuilt to look
Mm.
exactly like it was a year ago. But it took a whole
Oh.
year for us to get back into that room. Everything that we left, we had to leave. Literally, we didn't come back. So we had like servers and that sort of
Mm.
thing that they got bulldozed because of all the contamination from what had occurred with the
Mm.
fuel and the fumes and the PCBs and the lead based paint. All the stuff that was
Oh.
in the Pentagon was floating down the hallways. And I don't know if you remember, but they talked about the next day or that afternoon, Donald Rumsfeld went on um,
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
TV and said, "We're
remember
going to
that.
be back at work tomorrow." And everybody went, "Hmm, I guess we're going to be back at work tomorrow." Went down to the hardware store and bought painters' masks and went back to work. So
Oh.
it was very, very interesting. The one thing that we did learn in reference to IT operations is that when you talk about resilience, we
Mm.
lived it. When you talk
Mhm.
about continuity of operations, we lived that. When you talk about risk management, we lived that. And I
Mm.
point this out. I was the risk manager for the entire Secretary of Defense IT, and
Wow.
nowhere in the risk log did I have an entry that said somebody's going to fly an airplane into our building.
Oh, man. When we're working, we don't think about, we're also, in information security, cybersecurity, we're thinking everything security. In law enforcement, they tell you, let's play the what if. You play the what if game. What
Mhm.
if, you enter a building, and what if this happens, and where's the nearest exit? Or if you start playing scenarios in your mind. Same thing in cybersecurity, information security. We play scenarios in our minds. Hey, what happens if this password gets compromised, and what do we do when this happens? But you're right. Going something through that, Scott, like you guys did, and especially you're a team leader. The what if game, we don't think about stuff like that. Like, but I think this is just a reminder, and those, thanks for your service right there too, because you guys will work the next day.
Yep.
That's tough, and then still doing your daily duties. That's such an experience though, and such a wealth of knowledge to share, because that's like the ultimate, like you mentioned, resilience, right? But
Hmm.
I think it's just a reminder for all of us to, continue to play that what if game. Not necessarily be, 100% paranoid, but you want to have some kind of, if I go into the server room, and I forgot to close the door behind me, or I
Hmm.
left my ID badge on my desk, and I left my door open. You want to play those what ifs so you can be prepared mentally, and then if it
That's
does
right.
happen, you're ready to react to it, and you're ready to
Right.
do what you're trained to do. But I think that's just an incredible experience you guys went through, Scotty, and also thank you for sharing that, because that's just a reminder for us to make sure don't be don't be passive, be vigilant. Have fun where
Mhm.
you're doing too,
Right.
in the tech world, but also be vigilant at the same time, especially for those
Yeah.
in cybersecurity, information security, and whatnot.
One more thing
For
that
sure.
I will point out to the
Mhm.
listeners for that year. Remember, I said we didn't get back to that office for a year. That
Uh,
means we had to be renters, if you will, in someone
oh,
else's office.
oh man.
Everybody squished together into smaller more people in the same offices. I can remember for that entire year, my
Mm.
five-person team had this corner desk off in somebody else's office, one chair, and a flatbed cart.
Oh
That
man.
was it. A desk, one chair, and a flatbed cart for the five of us. Which means if we wanted to, if somebody came in from doing work down the hallway, somebody else had to leave, or they
Oh,
couldn't sit down. So
oh man.
just enjoy what you do. Be happy where
That's
you're
true.
at. If you look down in between your feet, that's where you're supposed to be. Now do
Mm,
something with it. Don't wait
so
for that.
true.
That I'm not going to do this until I achieve some level of experience or pay level or the title. Sometimes those just don't materialize in the manner you're expecting, and your
Mhm,
expectations cause you to be less successful today. So
mhm,
I keep my expectations low. I have a lot of fun doing what I do, and that's
mhm,
why I enjoy mentoring. I want other people to have an ethical
mm.
approach to cybersecurity. Don't just do it right.
That's such a good reminder for us. Like we do the day to grind, whether you're working for MSP or on-prem for Microsoft, or you're working for a cybersecurity firm or wherever it may be. Have, like Sky mentioned, and it's a reminder for myself. I'm talking to myself as well. If there's an incident that happened, breathe a little bit, do we trained to do, follow your policies and procedures. Use the frameworks we have that's on place, especially for NIST. Those
Hmm.
frameworks are there for a reason. I love you mentioned have fun while you're doing it.
Hmm.
That's if you're not enjoying it, you definitely need to think about getting another look at something else.
Right.
But definitely you want to
Right.
enjoy it, and you want to laugh a little bit, because those things really, when you're around a team like that, or whatever team you guys are working on or you potentially will work on, you want to be a part of a team that is there for each other. It's not a perfect team, but it's there for each other. If you need help with something, they're there for you and mentor you, and
Hmm.
that's a good thing for
Yeah, I
sure.
remember early on when I was in the Pentagon, there was something that was going on, and everyone on the team was huddled around trying to figure out what it was and how it came to be and how we could address it.
Mm,
And everybody said, "Oh, I don't know, I can't figure this out." So we called on the guy that had the most certifications,
mm.
and I remember him. His name is Mark Mead, and to this day he's one of my heroes. But he sat down and he clapped his hands together and he said, "That's why I get all these certs." And he went to work and he figured out what the issue was. So it's not like the certifications are not valuable. They're absolutely valuable,
They are.
but you
Yeah.
also have to be able to use them to steer you professionally. And like I said, Mark was my hero because
That's
none of
awesome.
us could figure it out, and he literally sat down and clapped his hands together and said, "That's why I got all these certs."
Those certifications, man, like when you're barely get into the field and you start taking, we're like, I remember telling myself, I knew why I'm taking it, but like, man, why am I taking it? Back in my head, and then later on, I figure out, I'm in that situation. Like, oh, wait a minute, the CompTIA Plus said this, or this certification at the college I went to said this. I'm actually doing it now. Okay, let me jog my muscle memory or look at my notes before, is whatever stuff we have and whatnot. So yeah, no, that definitely helps, especially in those. I think certifications are great because they're always constantly being updated. Like these organizations like CompTIA, ISC Square, Cisco, all these vendor certifications, neutral certifications, they're constantly being updated for real world scenarios and whatnot. So that's awesome though. You founded Cybersecurity Sensei, Incident Response Team, Speakers Bureau, and the Tech Publishing Team. Which has been the most fun or an innovative project?
The incident response team that I founded. Um,
Nice.
We in the cybersecurity industry tend to think that you've got to be sitting in somebody's chair with a title before you can do cybersecurity work, and that's just not the case. Challenge is, yes, you can get your degree, yes, you can get your certifications, but they're also looking for experience. So how do you
Mhm.
get experience without a job? How do you get the job without experience, etc.? It's the old tug of war. So
Yeah.
I designed an incident response team that allows people today to get experience as incident response analysts,
Mm.
which are indeed part of that NIST cybersecurity framework.
Mm.
It's all volunteer. You can do it on your spare time. You do it looking in your own inbox. It's literally reporting spam and phishing
Oof.
messages. But the reason is you're trying to help with the people whose filters let it pass. It's not
Mm.
supposed to arrive in your inbox, but it did. That's actually, by definition, an event.
Mhm.
Also, the people that are being spoofed. Somebody says they're from Amazon Prime, but they're not. Amazon wants to prosecute them. So you
Mm.
let Amazon know about that as well. So even today, before you're sitting in that chair as a cybersecurity analyst, let's say, you can
Mm.
get incident response analyst experience to add to the resume that in the end, who do I hire? Somebody with a degree and two certs, or somebody who's a degree, two certs, and is working as an incident response analyst? For me, that is a simple choice. So that's what's the most fun
Mm.
of what I've been able to do. And to my knowledge, this is unique in the industry. I have not seen any other group that has done the same thing or to the extent that we do here at Cybersecurity Sensei.
That experience, even before you pivot or you're studying and whatnot, and it's there's ads on YouTube that's like, hey, go take this boot camp, spend, I'm exaggerating, I remember exactly what it says, but it says, spend something like $15,000 for a 6 week boot camp and you'll make $200,000 a year. And I'm just like, wow, I don't know who does that spam video, but they're just, they're essentially just trying to trick people and hustle people. And I think what you doing what you're doing, Scotty, is allowing folks an opportunity to gain experience. And you're right. When those email filters aren't working correctly, those vendors want to know, those companies want to know.
Mhm.
And that's such a, if I'm the hiring manager and I see someone with degree, oh, that's nice. Another one with certifications, that's nice too. But someone that has experience, that knows at least a little bit of the lingo, and also knows what it feels like to go through that and document that correctly and all that stuff. That's the person I want on that team. You're right. You're totally right.
Yeah,
And folks, I encourage you, check out Scotty's Cybersecurity Sensei's instant response program, because it's like you mentioned, it's volunteer. You do it in your own time, but if you're looking for experience, and I might just have fun and do it myself too, Scotty. Like
yeah.
I really mean that. You know, get in there and I'm sure Scotty, you have a whole community that can help you, and Scotty can help you too, and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
get in there, see what you have to do, learn from them, learn from that program that Scotty has, and put that in your resume. Like it's gonna be nice, especially for folks that there's employers out there like, man, I'm getting like 70 applications, but I really want to hire somebody, but I can't find any. Finally, they'll find someone. Okay, you worked with Scotty Ward at Cybersecurity Sensei. Okay, so with that, email phishing scams and all. Okay, cool. Let me see what you're made of. Let me hire you to see how you do and whatnot. So
There you go.
that's gonna be a tremendous help for sure, for
Right.
sure.
And one thing that a lot of people don't consider is, although the cybersecurity career field is technical in nature, it's run
Mhm.
by humans. And
Yeah,
the bad news is the good guys and the bad guys are all learning from the same books.
yeah,
You've
true.
got to demonstrate that you care. And that's really
Mhm.
difficult for some of us techies. So that's
Yeah.
the other thing that Cybersecurity Sensei and the incident response team do for you. They show your prospective employer that you're already doing things to help.
Mm,
You help the owners of the mail filters, you help the companies that
true.
are being impersonated, and you help your family, friends, and neighbors by saying,
Mm,
send me your spam and I'll forward it to the authorities. and then you take credit for that as experience. Everybody
Mm.
wins except the bad guys.
You go through that experience, and it's such a, I wish, we didn't have these programs when I went to high school in late '90s, Scotty. But this is something that if you are in high school, I encourage you guys check out Scotty's stuff, get in there, learn. Even if you don't know what email filtering is, but you're like, man, maybe I should get an IT, or maybe I should get an cybersecurity. Let me
I
try it
can
out. He
train.
tried out. Oh, there we go. Yeah, Scotty get trained, and you've seen the trends, you've seen the tech trends, and that's really
Blackberries.
important. Blackberries, yeah,
Yeah.
blackberries.
Yeah.
You've seen all that, and I think someone in high school or even college. What's one example of a time when character mattered more than technical skills? You mentioned about the soft skills, like when you choose not to hire that award-winning systems engineer.
I was a program manager in the Pentagon, and my vice president knew that I needed a systems engineer. He said, "You should hire this guy." And he was on another contract in the Pentagon. So I knew of him, but I hadn't spoken to him. I brought him in and I interviewed him. He was in the same company as me, but I interviewed him
Mm,
and I spoke to him for a while and said, there are certain things that go on with our team. We're small, we're agile, we pivot a lot
mm,
between project completion and customer service. You're going to go back and forth all day long. And at one point, as he was responding, he said, "Yeah, sometimes customers can be annoying." And I did not hear a single word that he said after that. I called up my vice president and I said, "I'm not hiring him." He said,
mm,
"What? This guy was the top systems engineer in our company." I said, "No, he called the customers annoying. And
mm,
I don't want to hire somebody that I have to go in afterwards and go to the customer and apologize for what my person has done." I said, "I'm
mm.
not hiring him. He's excellent at what he does, but he forgets why we're here, and that's the customers."
As I came into IT, I had some experience as far as like doing gigs here and there on the side, but I didn't have any experience at all. So I went into a Windows environment, and you go in there and it's like, you're trying to find that first IT job, and you might not have, an experience, or maybe you went through the Cybersecurity Sensei, but you don't have that 9 to 5, if you will. And I remember my first IT director, Scotty, he was telling me, says, well, you don't have any bad habits.
Right.
So I want to train you the right way. It's not going to be perfect, but I want to train you the right way from the ground up, because I could work with you. The other guy I interviewed that's been in IT for 20 plus years, he has bad habits. And so I want you to get into IT with some good habits. I'll tell you the mistakes I make so you don't make it. And you're right. And he mentioned too, it's about the users, the customers, the client, whoever it may be, the
Hmm.
board of directors. It's all about them, and it's all about helping the public and helping, being a servant, if you will, essentially. And so having
Right.
that mindset to get into the grind of things, put in the work, learn, put in the work. How does it feel creating a Cat 5 cable, Cat 6 cable? How does it feel to take a dolly, go to a moving truck and pull out 50 Dell computers and whatnot?
Hmm.
Get into that grind, everything in IT and cybersecurity, information security, get in there and learn and whatnot. But for all that to say is that you're right, soft skills and the customer is what really matters. You can have a ton of technical knowledge, but if you can't, if the person has a bunch of knowledge and have difficulty talking to someone or treating a user right, it's gonna get messy.
Right.
Yeah, he fixed my work, but now you got to
But
go in and clean up the mess a little bit.
yep,
Yeah,
there you go.
yeah,
Or somebody arrives and they think so much of themselves they tend to pollute the team. And then
yeah,
your other good folks all decide they want to be somewhere else. You have to
yeah.
look at all of those as a hiring manager. When you come in, you have to provide
Mm,
value to the team. You've got to be an asset to them. And the hiring manager
mm.
has to look at your resume and interview you and then make that determination that you're going to be an asset.
You add to the company culture, the organization's culture, when you get in there and whatnot. That's so true. Since you're the cybersecurity sensei, I have a question for you. Daniel Lawrence or Bruce Lee?
I'd say Bruce Lee because I don't know who Danny Lawrence is.
Karate Kid. I'm sorry, the Karate Kid, fictional
Oh,
character, but
okay.
I
All
should have
right. All
mentioned that. I'm
right.
sorry.
I like Jet Li, but okay.
Oh, there we go, Jet Li. Appreciate your time, Scotty, for beginning on this podcast, and thank you again for your service as well. This is going to help people. I mean, it's like definitely going to check out your instant response program too. To have some fun too. I don't mind doing that.
Happy to have you.
For sure. And Scotty, if folks want to get a hold of you, maybe they want to figure out if they want to get into cybersecurity, IT, maybe. How would they get a hold of you?
Well, I am on LinkedIn. My user ID up there is Scotty Ward. It's real simple. SCOTTYWARD. There's no numbers after it or anything. And our YouTube channel is at CS-Sensei, SENSEI. And you can look me up there, find me online. LinkedIn is the best place to find me if you want to connect professionally. Also, the Cybersecurity Career Ambassadors, we are getting very, very busy up there on LinkedIn. So join that group too. Bring your enthusiasm.
Thank you, Sky, for being on the podcast. I appreciate it, man.
Sure thing. Great seeing you, man.
You too. And this is episode number 22 with Scotty Ward, the regional leader for the Western region of the NICE Cybersecurity Career Ambassador, founder of Cybersecurity Sensei. See you guys.